September 19th, 1991, two German hikers are making their way through the Ötztal Alps on the border between Austria and Italy. Experienced mountaineers. They've done this route before. At 10,500 feet above sea level, they leave the marked trail to take a shortcut. And then they see something sticking out of the ice. A body, face down, half submerged, skin dried and darkened by the cold. Their first thought, someone fell. A recent accident. A hiker who didn't make it back. They call mountain rescue. Mountain rescue calls the police. The police call a coroner. Nobody is particularly alarmed. Bodies turn up in the Alps every season. The coroner examines the body. Estimates the man died somewhere between 10 and 40 years ago. He was wrong by 5,300 years. The body was sent to the University of Innsbruck. Within days, researchers noticed things that didn't add up. The equipment near him, a copper axe, a longbow, arrows, leather clothing stitched from multiple animal hides, didn't match anything modern, or medieval, or ancient Roman. Carbon dating confirmed it within weeks. The man in the ice had died around 3,300 BC. He had been lying there since before the Egyptian pyramids were built, since before Stonehenge, since before any writing system on Earth existed. For 5,300 years, a specific combination of conditions, the angle of the ice, the position of his body in a protected hollow in the rock, had preserved him completely. His eyeballs are still intact. His lungs still contain pollen from his last day alive. His last meal was still in his stomach when they found him. The world named him Otzi, after the valley where he was found. And then, the real investigation began. What Otzi's body revealed reads like a forensic case file. 45 years old, 5'2", around 110 pounds, arthritis in his knees, ankles, and lower back, joints ground down by decades of moving through mountains, Lyme disease, the earliest confirmed case in human history, lactose intolerant, 61 tattoos, the oldest ever found on a human body, not decorative, placed precisely over the joints where his arthritis was worst. Researchers believe they were a form of pain treatment that predates acupuncture by thousands of years. He was carrying two types of fungi, one for making fire, the other, birch polypore, has natural antibiotic properties. Otzi had intestinal parasites. He appears to have been treating himself with the mushroom. His longbow was unfinished. He had been actively working on it, carving and shaping, but it wasn't ready to use. His arrows were complete and tipped. A man mid-project, in the middle of his life, with work still left to do. His DNA revealed he was most closely related to modern Sardinians, not Central Europeans. He belonged to a wave of early farmers whose genetic lineage was later almost entirely replaced by migration. He is the most detailed surviving record of a type of human that no longer fully exists. We know all of this from a man who died before a single word was ever written down. But here's the thing. None of what I just told you is the reason you're still watching. You're still watching because of what happened on the last day of his life. And it gets worse the further you go. Pollen found in his stomach and clothing told researchers exactly what season he died in. Late spring or early summer. A narrow window, precise. Approximately 30 to 60 minutes before his death, Otzi ate a large meal. Red deer meat, wild goat, einkorn wheat, roots and berries he had carried up from the valley. A full meal, unhurried. He was resting at 10,500 feet, comfortable, relaxed, not running, not hiding. Everything about his final hour suggests a man who felt completely safe. He had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. For the first 10 years after his discovery, 10 years, with some of the best forensic scientists in the world examining him, the official cause of death was exposure. The cold, the altitude, a hard life that finally caught up with him. A reasonable conclusion, nobody questioned it. Then, in 2001, a radiologist named Paul Gossner decided to run a new CT scan, but something was bothering him about the left shoulder. The scan took hours, and when the images came back, there it was, an arrowhead, embedded in Otzi's left shoulder, buried so deep in soft tissue that it had been completely invisible to the naked eye for a decade of examination. The room went quiet. The arrowhead had entered from behind, and travelled downward, meaning the shooter was positioned below him, firing upward at an angle. The arrow had severed a major blood vessel. At that altitude, with that wound, blood pressure drops to 0 in minutes. Otzi would have lost consciousness almost immediately. He never regained it. The shaft had been broken off after the shot, snapped away. Only the stone tip remained inside. He didn't remove it. He didn't try to stop the bleeding. He had no time. He was shot from behind. He never heard it coming. He never turned around. This was not exposure. This was not an accident. This was a murder. Calculated, deliberate, executed at 10,500 feet in the Alps while the victim sat and ate his lunch. And the person who did it disappeared completely. Now, the investigation changed completely. Because once you know it's a murder, you go back and look at everything differently. Researchers went back to his equipment, his arrows, his knife, his coat. They ran DNA analysis on the blood traces and found something nobody expected. Blood from 4 different people. Not just Otzi. 4 separate individuals, 2 different people's blood on his arrows, 1 person's blood on his knife, another person's on his coat. Ötzi hadn't just been in a fight days before his death. He had been in a battle. A serious one. With multiple people. His arrows had likely wounded or killed at least 2 of them. His knife had been used on someone else. He won. Or at least survived. They knew where he was going. They followed him for days, up 10,500 feet, waited for him to relax, waited for him to eat, waited for the exact moment his guard was completely down, then shot him once, from behind, from below, and walked away. This wasn't a robbery that turned violent. This wasn't random. This was personal, methodical, patient. Someone who hated Ötzi enough, or feared him enough, to follow him into the mountains and finish it. Nobody has ever been identified. The case is officially still open, which is technically accurate because there is no suspect, no conviction, no resolution. But forensic profilers have built a picture of whoever did this. They were familiar with the terrain. You don't track someone to 10,500 feet in the Alps if you don't know the mountains. They were patient. This wasn't an impulsive attack. They waited for the right moment. They were a skilled archer. 1 shot from below, at an angle, hitting a blood vessel. That's not luck. And they knew Otzi. The wounds on his hands, the kind you get grabbing a blade, suggest someone who had already been close enough to fight him, hand to hand. This was someone from his world, his community, possibly someone he had known for years. Someone who ate near the same fires, walked the same paths, and then one morning in late spring, 5,300 years ago, followed him into the mountains and ended it. The oldest murder in recorded human history, and the killer never faced a single consequence. Otzi was 45 years old. In the middle of his life by the standards of his time. He had arthritis and parasites, and a bow he hadn't finished making. He had people somewhere who knew his name. He sat down on one of the last days of spring, ate a meal, looked out at the Alps, and felt safe. And somewhere below him, someone was already climbing. We built courts and laws and entire systems of justice because from the very beginning, this is who we were. Not just the victim, the person who planned it, the patience, the calculation, the ability to follow someone for days and wait for the perfect moment. That's not primitive. That's completely human. Otzi's case is still officially open. Nobody closed it. Maybe because closing it would mean accepting that some things, no matter how much technology we build, simply don't get resolved. But here's the part that gets me. For 5,300 years, the glacier held onto him, preserved every detail, every meal, every scar, every tattoo, as if it knew that eventually someone would come looking. And in 1991, 2 hikers took a shortcut. If this changed how you think about the ancient world, let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, the next one is even stranger.